We have to note that the original Quran was written on bones, stones, leaves etc. as assorted writing materials. Here is an excerpt. So Zayd proceeded to collect the Quran from pieces of papyrus, flat stones, palm leaves, shoulder blades and ribs of animals, pieces of leather and wooden boards, as well as from the hearts of men. Zayd then copied out what he had collected on sheets or leaves, Arabic, suf. Once complete, the Quran was handed over to Abu Bakr, and on his death passed to Umar, and upon his death passed to Umar's daughter, Hafsa. Unquote. Having this reality, we know that such perishable writing materials were lost, thus as confirmatory, the original Quran was lost. Having no original manuscript to verify the reliability of succeeding copies of it, how shall it guarantee that Quran was indeed preserved? How shall we know that the existing Quran now is the pristine, uncorrupted and exact representation of the original copy? They might say, Muhammad recited the Quran to his Sahabas who in turn memorized it and transmitted to the next generation of memorizers. It was a chain of memorizers unto the present time as a process of Quranic transmission. The thing is, what guarantee that they memorized it correctly without an original Quran to verify it? They will likewise say, the original Quran was copied by Zayd into a book and gave it to Abu Bakr. This book was preserved and it is in the possession of Muslims. The thing is, what guarantee that original Quran was copied by Zayd correctly without the original copies to validate it? Now reflect on that. Without original Quran to validate any succeeding copies or Quranic memorization, then we have no way to verify if indeed original Quran was copied correctly, or memorized correctly, right? Having this as a matter of determinant, we can determine that there is no way we can conclude that Quran was indeed correctly preserved. Nothing is certain to say Quran is correctly preserved. So we established one thing, is Quran correctly preserved? Without an original Quran, we cannot validate the reliability of succeeding copies or its chain of memorization to be honestly correct. In short, we have no certain way to say Quran is correctly preserved. Objection may come like, there were hundreds of Sahabas who memorized it from the mouth of Muhammad. Muslims presented a rebuttal how authentic Quran is the preserved word of Allah. They said, according to chain of narrations, narrators are claiming that hundreds of Sahabas, companions of Muhammad, who memorized the Quran from the mouth of Muhammad have helped in the compilation of the first Mushaf including authentic Quran and thereby asserted that such chain of narration is infallible and irrefutable. The thing is, how do we validate if they copied it correctly? Is there a certainty that they copied it correctly? Hundreds of Sahabas could have it wrong because of the fact that some Sahabas did turn their back on Muhammad, meaning, there was no solidarity of Sahabas, so who gets the memorization correctly, the faithful Sahabas or the apostate Sahabas? Fact is, after Muhammad's death there were Sahabas who turned their back. They apostate. Let's read. And Muhammad is no more than a messenger, the messengers have already passed away before him. If then he dies or is killed, will you turn back upon your heels? And whoever turns back upon his heels, he will by no means do harm to Allah in the least, and Allah will reward the grateful. Allah, the Great, has told the truth. Holy Quran 3 verse 144. This Quranic verse is clear about how the companions will turn back upon their heels, and only a few will stand their ground, as the above Quranic verse indicated in the expression of Allah about them. Those who stand their ground and do not turn back are the grateful, for the grateful are only a small minority, as in the words of Allah the Most High. And very few of my servants are grateful, Holy Quran 34 verse 13. Meaning, few Sahabas were faithful. Having this, we know that there was no solidarity of these hundreds of Sahabas regarding correct Quranic reading or memorization, so to say, as logically implied. So who gets the Quran correctly in its pristine and uncorrupted nature, the faithful Sahabas, who were few, or the apostate Sahabas? It's possible that there were two sets of Quranic reading these Sahabas memorized, or even possibly, multiple discrepant readings memorized from the mouth of Muhammad due to the fact that they had no solidarity. Objection may come like, these Sahabas memorized it on a weekly basis, even supervised by Muhammad himself. The thing is, after Muhammad's death, the Sahabas were divided in faith. Muslims may argue like, more likely the faithful Sahabas got it correctly. The thing is, it's possible that the apostate Sahabas got it correctly, but they turned their back because they were not compatible with the rest. It could be, right? They would say, the verse says, few of my servants are grateful, so these few were the faithful Sahabas, so how come the apostate Sahabas got it correctly and yet not grateful? For me, who knows why Allah rejects them, but it doesn't prove that they got it incorrectly. Maybe something is wrong with Allah, thus his preference was askew, right? And for these apostate Sahabas, why they were not grateful doesn't mean they got Quran incorrectly. Nothing implied to that extent, right? Having this, there is no guarantee that Quran was indeed preserved in its present state, the Uthmanic Quran, because of the fact that there was no solidarity among Sahabas. Doubt will always come like, who must have memorized Quran correctly, the faithful Sahabas or the apostate Sahabas? And the fact that no original Quran is there to validate anything. No original Quran to determine if the faithful Sahabas memorized it correctly than the apostate Sahabas. We then can say, nothing guarantees that the existing Quran now must have been authentic, genuine or reliable, as it could have been otherwise, a fake Quran. Thank you.